And again, thank you everybody who's joining us here today to learn a little bit about UC Santa Barbara. As mentioned, my name is Guillermo Vasquez. I am a freshman admissions counselor for UC Santa Barbara. Through this position, and my job is essentially to make sure students like yourselves and parents as well are well informed about UC Santa Barbara, the UC system, as well as the UC admissions process. And that's exactly what we're going to cover today. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is that I am not only somebody who does presentations like these, I'm also somebody who reads applications. So make sure to ask as many questions as you have them. Not only that, but I'm also somebody who went to UCSB and I graduated in 2018, though that was a couple years back. If you do have any questions about the student experience, I will be more than happy to answer them as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So when it comes to our UCSB campus and our university, the first thing that you're probably wondering about is where is UC Santa Barbara? As you can see here from this map of California, you can tell that we're about a 2-hour drive north from the city of Los Angeles. So it gives you a bit of an idea of where we are in general when it comes to that geographically. And of course, UC Santa Barbara is located literally on the coast side. As you can see in this picture here, this is not a picture of a beach that's 20-30 minutes away. We are literally located on the coastline. We are on the beach, which is really amazing. Wonderful location for our students because it's not only beautiful, but it's also very relaxing and nice to be around when you have such intense schooling sometimes, right? So that's a little bit about our location, but when it comes to the student population, it's also something very important to note. We at UC Santa Barbara have about 26,000 students total. This makes us about a mid-sized UC campus if you were to compare us to some of our UC sister campuses in the system, where some of our UC campuses have double our size, some of them have half our size, so we're about in the middle when it comes to our student campus population. The very important thing to note, though, here is that 23,000 of our students are undergraduates, essentially working towards their bachelor's degrees, whether you're coming in as a freshman applicant or a transfer applicant. So really important stuff in that sense because we are very undergraduate focused. We make sure that our resources, our jobs, our internships, and our research positions are very readily available to our students who are completing their bachelor's and or coming in as a freshman or transfer student. Of course, when it comes to our campus in the UC system itself is a research-based institution. So no matter whether you're talking to us or any other research or any other UC campus, we are all research-based. UCSB, of course, is no different. We are very much a tier 1 research institution. We've had 7 different Nobel laureates be a part of our campus. We're also the home of 10 different national institutes and research centers, which again, provides our students and our professors with world-class facilities to conduct amazing research as well. When it comes to the majors portion of our university, we offer 90 different majors in total on our campus, and these are essentially split between our 3 different colleges. So essentially, to start, we have our College of Letters and Science. We have 80 majors within this college, and it is by far the most popular major college in our entire university because it holds over 90% of our students. Within this college, you're going to be able to find things that are in the hard sciences from biology, chemistry, physics, all the way to the humanities, whether it be history, political science, sociology, foreign languages, etc. So we have a lot of different types of programs on our campus and a lot of different things that are options for students to come in as within their majors. And of course, we also have undeclared as an option for freshman applicants. So if you're not entirely sure what you want to major in, undeclared is perfectly fine because you can select that, come in, take classes here and there, and figure it out as you go. When it comes to our university's admissions process, when it comes to the College of Letters and Science, the most important thing to note is that for the College of Letters and Science majors, all 80 of them, major is not a factor in the admissions process because these majors are not impacted, which means that your major, regardless if you're picking a regular major that some students apply to, or a most popular major by far like biology, your chances don't go up or down based off of the major you pick. So essentially what you can do instead is focus on the questions of, what do I want to study? What do I prefer? What do I like? And be able to pick that major instead of what you think is going to get you in. When it comes to this college, I do want to make sure that folks who are looking into dance and music as a major understand that on top of filling out the UC application, you will also be required to complete an audition. So it's something to keep an eye out for if you are, again, applying into the dance or music majors. When it comes to our College of Engineering, we have one of the smallest colleges of engineering in the UC system with 5 different majors. course, because of this, we do have a little bit of a competitive admission process, but there are amazing resources for students within the college, such as a 10-to-1 student to faculty ratio, senior capstone projects, as well as the opportunity to earn both your bachelor's and a master's degree within just an added year, which helps our students save time and money. One of the biggest things to note with regards to the College of Engineering and the admissions process is that there is a specific way to go about selecting majors. So to give you a little bit of an understanding here, I do want to let you know that for most UC campuses on the UC application, you're going to be able to pick a first choice major and an alternate major. So the important thing to note here with the College of Engineering is that if you are thinking of applying into the College of Engineering, we only consider folks for an engineering major if they select it as their first choice on the UC application. If you select it as the alternate choice, we've essentially taken yourself out of the running, because we only consider folks for engineering if you select it as your first choice. So the best thing for you to do, again, if you're interested in engineering as your first choice, select that engineering major. As that alternate major, we highly recommend that students select the major within the College of Letters and Science, as this is essentially going to provide them with an opportunity that if they are not necessarily admitted into the College of Engineering, we re-review their application for the College of Letters and Science, which essentially will give them a second chance at being admitted to UCSB, even if they're not necessarily admitted into the College of Engineering right away. Next up, we have our College of Creative Studies, which essentially provides our students with a really great opportunity to really dive deep within the specific topics within majors that they are particularly passionate and dedicated to. So for example, in this college, we offer 8 different majors. We offer things like biology, chemistry, physics, art, music, writing, etc. So you might already be noticing something here going on, and that is that we have some duplication. We have already mentioned that we have those majors in the College of Letters and Science. So what's the difference here? The difference is the approach to education. The College of Letters and Sciences is your straightforward college where essentially you go into a major and you'll have required courses to complete as part of that major. For the College of Creative Studies, because these students are specifically passionate and dedicated towards one specific area of study, they essentially will be placed with a faculty member on a one-on-one basis to take the specific classes that are going to help them learn more about that particular topic. So for example, if you're somebody who's interested in microbiology in particular, you're essentially going to be able to explore that field and be able to do work within that field with that faculty professor. And at the end of the day, these students are expected to either produce creative work or conduct original research, which is a little bit different for sure than the final expectation for our students in the College of Letters and Science. For these students in the College of Creative Studies who are looking to apply to this college, I do want you to keep in mind that there is a application process aside from the UC application to keep in mind, and that is that we send you a supplemental application via email once you submit your UC application. And it is just, again, something else to keep in mind of and for you to check out and make sure that you're filling out and sending back to us. Well, aside from providing our students with a great opportunity to read, to learn a lot from their majors and be prepared for their careers, we also provide them with a lot of great professional programs as well that are going to give them that same preparation as well. For example, we have things like our health professions advising programs, as well as our pre-law programs, which are open to any student regardless of major. You don't have to be a biology or a political science major to be a part of these programs. And essentially through these programs, you have access to advisors who are there to help you in making sure that you're eligible and competitive for any medical or law program that you're looking to apply to, which is really great because our students are getting the support they need to be able to pursue those career fields. And in general, through these programs, we get folks to medical and law school at a higher rate than the national average, so we're doing a really good job. When it comes to our technology management program, we are offering students a program where they can take classes that are taught by entrepreneurs who have been successful in the area of business and technology. Again, it provides our students with a really great opportunity to learn from experts and be able to get the ins and outs of how to run a business successfully. Not only that, but we also offer the students the opportunity to have a Shark Tank portion where essentially you get to pitch a business idea through this program and be able to gain funding for your business as well. So not only is it a great way to learn all about running a business and doing so successfully, networking and meeting people in the field, but also being able to gain funding for your business. So when it comes to our professors and their support to our students, we have over 90% of our classes taught directly by faculty and an 18-to-1 student to faculty ratio, which means our students are very much well supported by our professors on our campus. And when it comes to providing them with research opportunities, we have a number of different research programs that can help students with getting involved in research. So for example, first and foremost, we have our Faculty Research Assistance Program, or FRAP, which is essentially a website where professors can post their research opportunities where they're looking to get the help of students, undergraduate students specifically, in conducting their research. This is really great because if you're somebody who's interested in research, it has all of the research opportunities for there. You can reach out very easily. And if you're not somebody who's interested in research right away, that's also perfectly fine because it's all centralized. If you're ever curious about what kind of work our professors are doing, you can find it very easy. Not to mention that you're not just boxed in to doing research within your major. You can definitely expand into other fields and be able to do research in whatever field that you are feeling you would like to conduct research within. And of course, if you're looking to conduct your very own research on our campus, we do have the Undergraduate Research and Creative Activities Program, or URCA, which will help you in making sure that you're getting the funding you need to conduct your research. When it comes to general student resources on our campus, we have things like our Campus Learning Assistance Service, or CLAS, which is essentially a tutoring program that's very, very popular amongst our students, especially because it's paid for by tuition, so it's at no extra cost to any students, and because they provide small classroom tutoring sessions that go alongside the classes that you're taking. So for example, let's say you're taking Chemistry 1 at UC Santa Barbara. On top of taking the class and being able to get the support you need from your professors, you're also going to get support through these CLAS courses, where you'll be going over the material on a weekly basis of what was gone over in class. And on top of that, being able to go over some problem solving in small classroom environments, which is going to provide you with a deeper understanding of the course material. And all of that is pretty much built to make sure that students are successful as possible in the classroom. Another big resource for our students, of course, is our Education Opportunity Program, or EOP. And EOP is specifically a program that is designed for first-generation students as well as income-eligible students to have a one-stop shop of support on our campus that ensures that first-generation students and income-eligible students have a place that they can go to if they have any questions or need any support whatsoever. So I myself was a first-generation student at UC Santa Barbara, and I can tell you firsthand from my experience that, of course, being a first-generation student come with some of its disadvantages. You know, my parents didn't navigate the university system. They didn't really understand it either when I was going through it. So I couldn't really lean on them for help. So for myself, it's very important that I had a program like EOP at UC Santa Barbara, because it meant that if I had any questions or had any issues that I wanted to resolve, I can go to them directly, talk to an advisor, a counselor, or a peer advisor, and get the help I needed. Not to mention that our EOP program also runs our cultural resource centers as well, which provide our students with a variety of different backgrounds the ability to create and find community on our campus. And that idea of community is something that is very important and very unique to the experience of students on our campus. We very much pride ourselves in making sure that our students are feeling welcome and that they feel at home at UC Santa Barbara, especially because when you go off to a university, it's essentially your home for the next several years. So you better hope that it does feel like home. And I can tell you that for our students, it really does feel like home, because we've been consistently voted to have the happiest campus in all of California on multiple occasions, showing consistently that our students very much are feeling at home and feeling a part of the campus for sure. Part of this idea of community, it definitely comes from the fact that we are a very residential campus. We have 82% of our students living on campus or within a mile of campus in a very tight-knit community, as you can imagine, helping and supporting each other as they go through their time at UCSB. We, of course, at UC Santa Barbara offer 9 different residence halls, as well as different apartment and suite style living accommodations for students who are looking for different types of housing options. And of course, a lot of these have been built within the last couple of years. This picture that you can see here, all of these residence halls that are in this picture have been built in the last 3 or 4 years. So essentially, they're brand new, state-of-the-art living opportunities for students who are coming in. And of course, when it comes to creating community and finding like-minded individuals, there's no better place to start than our campus organizations. We have over 500 different clubs and organizations available to students on our campus, as well as 38 Greek organizations. And with that many options, it's very easy to make sure that you're finding the ones that you're passionate about. These can be career-oriented, completely social-based, or identity-based, and you'll be able to definitely find something that speaks to you. When it comes to studying abroad, of course, we have an amazing program at our campus. We have over 300 different programs in 40 different countries, which essentially means that students have opportunities all over the world to be able to study abroad. So essentially, we also have programs in every single continent except Antarctica. So again, all over the world pretty much. And of course, these are open to all majors. So no matter what you're studying, no matter what your major is, there's always going to be a program available to you to be able to make sure that you're getting the experience that you want out of a study abroad program. And a couple of key things to note is that one of the worries that students have sometimes is affordability. Can I afford to study abroad? And I can tell you that definitely the answer is yes. If you can afford to go to UCSB, you can afford to study abroad. We have scholarships available for students who need it, and any financial aid that you are receiving to go to pay for university at UC Santa Barbara is essentially going to travel with you no matter where you go. And in some instances, you can find programs that are cheaper than UC Santa Barbara, and in that sense, you might even be saving some money as well. So really great opportunity. It's one of the things that I didn't do while I was a UCSB student, and I highly regret, definitely my number one regret. So I highly encourage you, if you are at UC Santa Barbara or any of our UC campuses, that you check out our education abroad program. Of course, we also offer national programs as well for students who are looking to gain, not only take their classes, but also gain internships in either our nation and states capitals through our UC DC and UC Sacramento programs. So these programs are completely open to any student regardless of major as well. So if you're looking to get a different experience with regards to your education and also be able to gain an internship that can lead to a career, there's definitely options for that outside through these UC DC and UC Sacramento programs. Now, these programs are really great because through these internships, you're getting the preparation you need to make connections for jobs. I can tell you firsthand that I personally knew people who did the UC DC program and were able to get jobs immediately after graduation. So it's a very important program that can help our students be sure to make sure that they're making the right connections that are going to help them towards finding those career options in life. And in general, that's definitely one of our big responsibilities as a campus, is making sure that our students are prepared to make that transition into their career fields or into graduate school fields once they graduate. One of the big resources that we provide to ensure that is our career services program. This career services program is very robust and is there for students from the moment they step foot on campus, whether you're somebody who already has a major in mind and already knows exactly what you want to do, or if you're somebody who's undecided. If you're undecided, we have a variety of different planning as well as counseling programs that you can take and participate in to figure out what your passions are, what you're good at, and then what majors are going to fit you based off of your interests. And then from there, also figure out what careers are going to be best for you based off of what your interests are as well. So really great in that sense. And then once you know what your interests are, they're connecting you with internships, jobs, etc., all around the university area, as well as in the Santa Barbara area as well, where essentially our students get top priority as well. We're very interconnected when it comes to the city as well as county of Santa Barbara. So our students get a lot of priority when it comes to internships, whether they be local hospitals, law offices, tech companies, software companies, etc., you name it. We have a lot of connections in the area. So we're helping our students locally in that sense. From there, once you start getting a little closer into your junior and senior year, they're helping you with cover letter building, resume building, mock interviews where you're learning how to interview effectively for any jobs that you might be applying to already. Not to mention that they're helping you with graduate school as well. Not only do they host graduate school fairs where you can meet different graduate schools on our campus, but they're also hosting different events where they'll provide you with test prep materials as well as possibly even some fee waivers when it comes to applying to graduate schools. So really great program all in all, and it is available to students even up until a year after they graduate. So it's a very robust program, like I said. And not to mention that the outcomes are very apparent. 86% of our graduates from UCSB either have a job or are pursuing graduate school within a year after graduating. So there's a lot of our students almost immediately are able to graduate and have something lined up for themselves in their fields going into graduate school as well, if that's something that they're looking to do. So as I pivot a little bit off of our campus and what an amazing place it is and the amazing resources we have, we do want to talk about financial aid because financial aid is very important. So when it comes to the UC system, the very first thing that you should be thinking about doing, first and foremost for financial aid, is applying to the FAFSA application or the California DREAM Act application. You'll essentially apply to one over the other based off of what your legal residence status is, and you'll fill out the appropriate one. Now, it does say here that the due date is March 2nd. However, I do want to let you know that we do prefer students to fill these out the earlier the better. Of course, we want you to focus first and foremost on the UC application, but aside from that, we do want you to make sure that you're applying to these and filling them out and sending them in sooner rather than March 2nd. Essentially, the sooner you're able to send these to us, the sooner we're able to process them and the more funds we may be able to allocate to you. Rather than if you wait to the last second on March 2nd, then our funds might be a little bit more limited then. Now, when it comes to the UC system and scholarships, we have a variety of different scholarships that can help our students in paying for their variety of different things. So first and foremost, we have the Blue and Gold Scholarship, which helps students on a need-based scenario cover the entirety of their tuition. We also have the Middle Class Scholarship available and undocumented aid for undocumented students who might not be getting the necessary amount of aid from the state or federal government. Now, with these scholarships, they are UC based and they are based off of the information you provide us on the FAFSA or the California Dream Act application. And one of the things you might have noticed here is that these are all need-based scholarships. And the reason for that is that at UC Santa Barbara, as a public university, a lot of the aid that we can provide is mostly on a need-based scenario. We do have some merit-based scholarships, and those will essentially be based off of, your UC GPA that is on the application. But when it comes to need-based scholarships, that is completely based off of your economic situation. So with that in mind, we do want to make sure that you're applying to as many outside scholarships as possible on top of just the FAFSA or California Dream Act application. That's going to ensure that you're covering yourself as best as possible when it comes to covering having scholarships or grants that are going to help you pay for things that might come up. I can tell you I myself got pretty good aid at UC Santa Barbara, and I feel like that's an experience that most students have. And I also applied to as many outside scholarships as I could as well, because that also helped me in making sure that I paid for everything that I had to, and that I had some extra money in case things came up. Now, if you're looking for the cost of UCSB and attending UC Santa Barbara, you can feel free to use the link below. The one thing that I will tell you about this link is that it'll only show you what the cost is. It will not tell you what kind of financial aid you could get to cover those costs. So the number is not necessarily the number that you would be paying. Not to mention that some of the things that are listed there are things like transportation and personal expenses, which differ from student to student, of course, and these are not specifically things that you'll have to pay directly to UC Santa Barbara. So just keep those things in mind. Now, as we go a little bit into admissions information specifically, we do want to give you some updates with regards to the UC system. First and foremost, I do want to let you know that for pass, no pass grades and credit, no credit grades, these are perfectly acceptable for winter, spring, and summer 2020. And because the letter grade requirement for A through G courses has been suspended, it's perfectly fine to have received a pass or a credit grade on an A through G course. Of course, keep in mind that when it comes to calculating your GPA, we will not be using pass, no pass, or credit, no credit grades. We will only continue to use either letter grades or the grading system used at your school. When it comes to AP and IB exams, is a little bit of a reassurance that if you did take any of these exams online and received a passing score that you can see here, you are still going to get the same amount of college credit as you would have any other year. And with regards to the SAT and ACT, I do want to be really clear that at this time, point in time of September the 29th, the UC system itself is still test optional for fall 2021 admissions as well as fall 2022 admissions. However, UC Santa Barbara, so our campus specifically, and other UC campuses have decided to not use the SAT or ACT at all as part of the selection process for admission, which means that whether you took them or not for UC Santa Barbara, this will not affect you in any which way or form, and we will not be looking at them as part of the admissions process. So keep in mind that this is just a decision that we have made for fall 2021. We have not made one for fall 2022. As soon as we make one, we will make sure to reach out to folks and let them know. But keep in mind that at that point, we would still be test optional, where essentially these are not required. And if you don't take them, they will not put you at a disadvantage either. And of course, when it comes to fall 2023 and fall 2024, these students, for these students who are applying then, we will not be using the SAT or ACT at all when it comes to the application process across the entire UC system. Now, if you're curious about what other UC campuses are not using the SAT or ACT this year, as well as UCSB, make sure that you reach out to those campuses directly, as we are not able to speak on other universities' behalf. So feel free to reach out to them directly for more information. As we pivot into specifically the freshman admissions process, I do want to let you know that there are specifically 3 things across the UC system that we are looking for. First and foremost, the completion of A through G courses, of course, with a C or better, or with a pass or a credit grade where that was allowed. Second, we're looking for students to meet and reach at least the 3.0 minimum UC weighted GPA requirement for California students. We'll talk about how to calculate your GPA in a couple of slides. And of course, we're looking at students' life experiences, which is essentially the non-academic things that are happening outside of the classroom. And when it comes to the non-academics, these are just as important as the academic things that are happening in the classroom. I do want to make sure that that is understood. And again, for the UC system, we value non-academics as much as we value academics. And life experiences and non-academics come in the shape of clubs, sports, community service, any hobbies or talents that you might have, or generally what your life experience is. So what you have what your home life is like, what you have available to you, what you don't have available to you, and what you've been able to take advantage of as a result of what's been offered to you. When it comes to the GPA requirement, the calculation for this GPA is done by only using your A through G classes, again, only, so in that sense, things like PE, which are not A through G, do not count as part of the calculation. And we are only using those A through G classes that you took during 10th and 11th grade years of high school, including any courses that you took during the summer schools after 9th, 10th, and 11th. So if you think about it, it's pretty much all the A through G classes you took during the middle section of your time in high school. We are not using the ones that you used during your freshman or senior year grades, just those in the middle. Very important thing to know. And of course, there is the weighted portion where you can get an extra bump on your grades for any AP, IB, community college, or any UC approved honors courses. So these 4 different types of classes can give you an extra bump on your grades, up to 8 semesters worth of bumps. So there is a limit to it, but those are there for you to take advantage of. Keep in mind that when it comes to the calculation of the GPA, we will not ask you to calculate your own GPA. All you will essentially have to do on the application is tell us what classes you took, what grades you received, and of course, what type of class it was, and we will do the calculation for you. When it comes to the life experiences section of the application, of course, you have the personal insight questions, which is a very important section for you to talk about your life experiences. For this section, you will have 8 different questions to choose from, and you will need to respond to 4. And there is a hard limit at 4. You can't answer more than 4, and you can't do less than 4. We want you to do exactly 4. Please keep in mind that there is a 350 word per response limit for this section of the application. So you want to make sure that you're keeping within that limit and that you're not overwriting when you're practicing or when you're doing your drafts. Because again, we don't want to cut you off. We want to be mindful of the space and using it effectively. When it comes to these questions, of course, all of them have equal value as well, which is very important to know, because that means that you can safely pick whichever questions you feel like answering or questions that you feel are going to help you talk the most on about yourself without having to worry about what questions we prefer. Genuinely pick the questions that you feel that you could talk the most on about yourself. And of course, when it comes to writing these, the number one thing for you to keep in mind is that these are not essays for us to see how great of a writer you are. The purpose of these is for you to see them as a personal interview on paper, where essentially we're getting to know you as best as we can. And essentially you are to be treating these almost as if we were doing an interview and we were asking you questions and trying to get to know you. So on your part, you're trying to give us as much clear and detailed information about yourself as possible in this section. So with that in mind, we do have some tips and tricks for this writing process. First and foremost, everything that you talk about has to be about you. We want you to really focus on yourself. It should really be me, all throughout the personal insight questions. And though that sounds very selfish and self-centered, we do want to make sure that you're telling us about yourself, which is why we tell you to do this. So in that sense, everything that you talk about, make sure you're talking about yourself. If you're talking about other people, how did they influence you? How do you influence them? Talking about a specific situation, what was your involvement within that situation? How did it influence you? And what was generally, again, what was your involvement specifically? One thing that really helps in making sure you're getting as much clear information about your experiences as possible is using a lot of I and my statements. I accomplished this. I did that. My experience has been this. So in that sense, it's very different from you saying, I was a part of this community service organization and the club itself did all of these amazing things, because at that point you're telling us about the club. Then you saying, I was a part of this community service organization and I ran a blood drive, I ran the community cleanup, I did this, I did that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's very important for you to make that detailed distinction as to not what the club did or what your life experience was in the sense of like what that organization or other people did. You want to focus on yourself. What did I do? What did I accomplish? What did I get out of it? What did I learn? So using I in my statements really helps in making that clear. So again, this was a little bit of a, just to reiterate what I mentioned earlier, but essentially for this section of the application, these are not essays. We are not trying to see how great of a writer you are. You don't have to worry about structure or your style of writing in particular, or even grammar or spelling for that matter. We're not English teachers. We're not going to grade you down for these things. The whole point of these is for us to get to know you as much as we can through these series of questions. They're not meant to see how great of a writer you are. So make sure that you're focusing on making sure you're getting across as much information about yourself and as clearly as possible, rather than trying to focus on whether or not you got the right essay structure and things like that. One other tip is that everything that you want to talk about, you want to make sure is relevant to who you are today and who you are during your time in high school. Remember, at the time of us reading this application, we're looking to admit who you are today. So in that sense, you want to make things relevant to who you are today so that we can get to know who you are, of course, again, today. So in that sense, if you do want to talk about things from the past, make sure that you bring it forward. How did that experience affect who you are now? How did that experience have an influence over you? And how is it important to who you are today? Those are very important things to keep in mind and clarify if you do decide to talk about things from the past. And I do want to tell you that generally through this section, we're looking for three things. We're looking for commitment, we're looking for progression, and we're looking for leadership. We're looking for commitment in the sense of how long and what kinds of things that you're participating in and for how long, and what your commitments have been able to help you in achieving through your progression. So what is your progression? You know, if you were a part of a soccer team for many years, you know, where did you start? Where did you end? What was your progression? How were you able to grow? How were you able to get out of it? When it comes to leadership, keep in mind, we're not looking for titles specifically. If you have a title, do tell us what you were able to do with that title. If you don't have a title, simply tell us about leadership experiences that you've had. Are you able to lead a project? Were you able to, lead the charge on a new change or make a change in your community, etc.? These are all very important things to keep in mind when it comes to trying to present your abilities within leadership. And of course, this goes without saying, but everything must be in your own words. We do have plagiarism checks in place. Again, it goes without saying, but it is something to keep in mind. Now, as we pivot, there is there is definitely a different way to be admitted to UCSB, of course, other than the freshman route, and that is the transfer route as well. Through the transfer route, we also have our own set of requirements, and these are as follows. First, students must complete a 7-course pattern of required courses in order to begin the transfer process. Of course, they'll take more than the 7 classes, but these 7 core classes are required. Students must also complete 60 semester units or 90 quarter units of UC transferable units. This is very important because this many units put students at the junior standing level, because at UC Santa Barbara, we only admit transfer students at the junior standing level. So it's a very important distinction to note. When it comes to the GPA requirement, the minimum for the UC system is a 2.4. However, this is not the minimum that we recommend students shoot for. And that is because through the transfer process specifically, we do look more at the academic aspects of things rather than any other aspects. And that's because, of course, these students are coming in as juniors. They have more of a limited amount of time to be able to graduate from our university. So we want to make sure that they're going to be academically sound. So for that reason, and because our average GPA for transfer admissions, admitted students has been around a 3.6, we highly recommend students who are looking to transfer to UCSB shoot for at least a 3.2 when it comes to their GPA that they're transferring with. Keep in mind that that 3.2 is based off of your classes in college, not in high school. So very important to make that distinction. And if there are, of course, some specific majors around our campus that require students to take specific courses in order to transfer into those majors. Those include anything in mathematics, economics and accounting, biology, as well as anything in our engineering programs as well. So it's very important that you check in with a transfer advisor just in case to make sure that there aren't any specific classes that you need to take, or if there are, that you know what they are so that you can take them. Finally, the biggest resource that I can give you as part of the transfer admissions process is our UCSB TAG program. TAG stands for Transfer Admissions Guarantee, and it is a program that is offered at 6 different UC campuses. Essentially, through this program, if you're looking to go to a university in the UC system through the transfer route, this is very important because this gives you an avenue to get guaranteed admission through the transfer route. Essentially how it works is that you get to pick one UC campus that you want to transfer to through TAG. And then from there, you'll be able to pick the major that you are looking to transfer into. Once you select that, you get a list of courses to complete. If you complete those courses, the eligibility requirements that I mentioned, and do all of that with a minimum of a 3.4 GPA, you get guaranteed admission to that UC campus that you applied to through TAG. Of course, you can apply to other UC campuses outside of TAG, but you can only tag to that one campus. So again, a really great resource if you're seriously looking at the transfer process, because it provides you a really great avenue to being able to do that successfully. Now, I do have some quick reminders when it comes to the admissions process for just generally the UC system. First and foremost, we will primarily communicate with you over email across the system. So it's important that you're checking your email and that you're responding to any messages that we might be sending you in a timely manner. Of course, one of those things that we will be emailing you about is your UC campus portals. Every UC campus you apply to will give you instructions via email on how to create a portal for their school. So it's very important that you keep track of this and create those accounts and keep track of the username and passwords, because through that campus portal is where you'll find out if you're admitted to that UC campus. Of course, we don't need any transcripts at all when you're applying. So we'll need those later, but not when you're specifically going through the application portion. And if your schedule changes at any time after you submit your UC application, you don't have to worry about telling us right away. You can essentially wait until after you're admitted and decide to go enroll to one of our UC campuses to specifically tell that UC campus that you're looking to make a change to what you had originally reported on the UC application. Now, of course, we do want you to be mindful of dates and deadlines. So first and foremost, August 1st of your senior year is when the UC application opens. So it's very important that you're mindful of this so that you can make sure that you're starting it on time. So for you seniors, the application is open and has been open. So you can definitely get started if you have not been able to already do so. And of course, November 1st and November 30th is when the submit button will be turned on and you will be able to turn in your application. So one thing to keep in mind is we don't do early admissions decisions. So if you turn in your application on November 1st, that gives you no priority over anybody who might turn in their application thereafter. And at the same time, I do want to warn you, please do not wait until Thanksgiving break to get started on your UC application. Take it from somebody who went through the application process myself, as well as somebody who's helped thousands of other students go through this application process. It's very important that you don't wait to the last second, because you want to make sure you're giving yourself enough time to work through the application gradually and at a pace that's going to make sense to you, so that you can turn in the application when it's done and you're proud of it, not at the last second trying to throw it all together so that you can get a application in, not exactly the application you want to turn in. Other dates to keep in mind is that mid-March is when you will find out if you were admitted via those portals that I mentioned. And the summer after graduation is when you can send us your official transcripts, as well as any official test scores that you may report on the application. So if you decide to tell us that you took any APs or SAT or ACTs, generally to the UC system, you can wait to send us the official scores until after graduation. Now, if you'd like further information about UC Santa Barbara, I do want to plug a couple of different things here. First and foremost, you can follow us on Instagram at UCSB Admissions, where you can find a lot of information about our admissions programs, as well as our university in general, and also find Q&A sessions where we do where we are able to answer students' questions. The UCSB Life page is dedicated towards our students and is student run, and it gives you a perspective of what it's like to be a student at UCSB. So it's a really great resource for us in that sense as well. I do have some more resources here for you as well. We do have our website where you can find all of our majors at UC Santa Barbara. You can find our virtual tours and resources on that second link, where essentially you can sign up for any one of our virtual tours where they're still guided by our tour guides, where then you can ask them questions and be able to interact with them. It's just from the comfort and safety of your own home. Not to mention that we are also hosting student panels on a weekly basis where you can jump in and ask our panel of students who are from a variety of different backgrounds questions about what their experience is like at UCSB, the application process, whatever you would like to ask. They are there to help you in answering that. Finally, we do have the link to the UC application and the personal insight questions worksheet, which again will be a big resource to you if you're looking to go through the personal insight questions. Again, I hope that you were able to write these down or maybe screenshot this page. The very last thing, and I promise it's the last thing that I will plug, is our mailing list for UC Santa Barbara. If you're interested in applying to UC Santa Barbara either this fall or in the future, I highly recommend that you sign up for our mailing list. You can do that by following the link in the orange box or simply using the QR code on screen. By signing up for the mailing list, we'll be able to email you with updates on our university, the admissions process, any events we might be putting on, etc. And we don't spam you with emails, I promise. We'll only email you when there's important information for you to know about. So it's a very, very good thing to sign up for. And generally, you have my email address on screen. I am also a resource for you to utilize. If you have any questions about UCSB or the admissions process, I'm also always here to help. All right.
Hey, Guillermo, great job. Boy, I tell you, if I was a student, I'd have been clicking a screenshot on like every other one of those slides that you had there. Tons and tons of information, which prompts me, by the way, my name's Todd Evangelist, and I work here at the Imperial County Office of Education. So we're hosting, for all you students out there, the Imperial County Office of Education is hosting, in conjunction with all of your high school counselors, this Higher Ed Week. And obviously, as you know, we're hosting right now Guillermo Vasquez from UC Santa Barbara. Now, Guillermo, there are a couple of questions that were asked during your session, and then and also we have some that were tuned in a little bit early, so I'll ask those real quick. But since your session was chock full of such important information and the slides were really informative, I'm going to remind students that after this presentation, most likely after this week, we're going to be dicing, we're recording this. And so we're going to dice these up into sections just for each university, and we'll be posting those on our YouTube channel, and then they'll be shared on our webpage for this session of Higher Ed Week 2020/Santa Barbara, something along those lines. So you'll be able to go back and hear Guillermo his session that we just got done doing. So here we go. Just if you don't mind, let me just kind of rapid fire a couple questions at you. A couple questions were students really interested in the transfer agreement because UC Santa Barbara's a UC school. It's a prestigious school. Not everybody who applies gets in. So if a student doesn't get in, or on the other side, maybe they want to stay home for a while, maybe they want to save some money. If they decide to go with the community college option, that transfer admission guarantee, I like the word guarantee. The student asks, what are some details about the tag?
Yeah, so it's essentially works in conjunction with, and I'll scroll back a little bit. It works in conjunction with the UC TAP account. So essentially UC TAP is essentially a way that if you're looking to transfer to UCSB, it keeps track of the classes you're taking and the units that you're taking and making sure that it all kind of is held in a place so that when you're applying to UC, you essentially have it all in a centralized place, and it makes the application process way easier. So it works in conjunction with that, and it'll give you the opportunity to go through the process there to select the tag program that you want to go to. So we offer it at 6 UC campuses. If you have any questions about which ones we don't answer, feel free to ask directly. But other than that, 6 campuses directly. But essentially, you follow the same eligibility requirements, except that you'll have some extra specific classes to take as preparation for the major you select. And if you finish all of that with a 3.4 GPA, you get guaranteed admission. It's very straightforward in that sense. It's really great for students. And of course, if you'd like further guidance on that process, you can feel free to reach out to me, and I can connect you with a specific transfer advisor who can help you on that process if you are finding yourself on that journey through the community college system.
Wonderful. And I'm going to ask you about personal insight questions next. At the beginning, I think that throughout the time, I heard you mention that you're one of the team that actually reads the personal insight questions. So this is essentially hearing literally from the person who will be reading these for the students who are applying to UC Santa Barbara. You mentioned you had a slide that said something about the effects of, I think you referred to it as tips and tricks about personal insight questions. Maybe you could flash that back up, but if I'm thinking about the scenario that we live in where in this particular year, we're not going to take an SAT or an ACT to turn that in. So does that mean that the personal insight questions, maybe they're even more important than in years past?
They can be, essentially because of the way that we evaluate applications is in a holistic process. We take everything that students can provide us and what we require, and then use all of that to kind of be able to get a fuller picture of what the student is and what they've been able to accomplish within their context, and then be able to, use that to attribute a score, if you will. or give them a rating based on all that. So the SAT and ACT are essentially not a part of the equation this year. So generally, we're looking at those three things: completing A through G's, the courses that students are taking, their GPA, and then your involvements outside. So definitely, in that sense, students can definitely then use that time that they would usually take to focus on or worry about the SATs to focus on their personal insight questions, spend more time writing them, workshopping them, making sure that they're the best that they can be. I do want to, again, kind of add the caveat of this doesn't mean that we expect you to do more extracurricular activities, especially not during these current circumstances that we find ourselves in. It just means that it'll give you more opportunities to take advantage of or maybe workshop more these ideas where before you were stuck doing SAT or ACT prep.
Good. Thanks a lot, Guillermo. And then you mentioned one of the other evaluating factors is GPA. So can you reiterate a little bit about how the UCs factor GPA, how they calculate GPAs, and what particular courses at a high school are students to account for that GPA?
Sure thing. So when it comes to the GPA calculation, or the requirement itself at base is a 3.0 minimum for California students. And the way that we calculate that is only through A through G courses. So these are courses you're taking at your the school level. And I believe I have a slide on that I can quickly pull up. That I usually hide for California students because typically California students know what A through G is, but I'll pull it up here just so we have a visual. But essentially, these are your A through G classes. They're essentially the courses that you are taking as part of your high school graduation typically. There are the required years and then there are the recommended years. But these are essentially what we use as part of the calculation. Notice how things like PE and things other than that, that are a little bit outside of the scope of these classes are not included here, and that is because we do not use those types of courses as part of the calculation. It was just simply your A through G classes. And we only use those that you take during 10th and 11th grade years of high school, including if you take any during the summer schools in between as well. The way to pretty much think about it is that we use everything pretty much except except the classes you took in freshman and senior year as part of the calculation. Those classes still matter because we still want to make sure you're completing your A through G courses and seeing what types of classes you're taking. However, they are not used as part of the calculation.
Great, thank you very much. I think that answered that. Now, by the way, students, if you're tuning in right now, thank you for tuning in to us. Some students have been online since 1 o'clock this afternoon. We're really glad you're doing that. By the way, we're doing this every single day. Tomorrow we have some great universities online. I think University of San Diego, University of Arizona, a couple other UC schools, UC Riverside, UC San Diego are all happening tomorrow, but we'll talk about that later. It's UC Santa Barbara's time right now. When students are applying and attending UC Santa Barbara, it's a long ways from home, and it may be a place where they maybe don't feel necessarily comfortable, or it's just a lot of changes in their life. You mentioned a program called EOP. When would a student apply for that program, and how would they be able to get in?
Sure thing. With regards to EOP specifically, the way that it works is that in the UC application process, you're going to get a question that asks, do you want to be a part of EOP? If yes, why? And you'll get a little box to give a little response. For UC Santa Barbara specifically, essentially, if you're a first generation student, meaning that your parents did not attend a four-year institution, or if you meet a certain income eligibility, you are essentially automatically in. And that's not, we don't really need to verify that with what you answered in the questions in the application. You are essentially automatically a EOP student. And you will be let know about that you are an EOP student right at your orientation. And we will also have EOP directly there to essentially tell you directly what they are, how you can talk to them, what kind of resources they offer, and the ways that you can be able to use them as a resource. So they're very involved in the different ways that our students are presented to right away. So they make themselves very much known to our students. And again, they provide a variety of different resources, whether that be by being, counseling resources or advising resources for any questions that you have, or just being resources when it comes to being able to participate in programming or finding programming that fits what you want to see, having something to do aside from, generally your classes and being able to interact with other communities of the university. So they're a really big resource in that sense.
Great. Just a couple more questions for you, Guillermo. And one of them was, if do you have, you had mentioned something at some segment for academic support programs. I think the acronym was CLAS or CLAS or whatever it might be. Does that cost anything extra? How would a student find them? Where would they need? When you go to a UC school, the rigor is pretty hard. So after their first test, they might want to look out for some help on their academics. Where would they be able to find that at Santa Barbara?
Sure. With UCSB, it's automatic. It's at no extra cost. Your tuition covers it. So it's pretty much free for you to utilize as much as you want. So, and that's like one key thing to keep in mind is that especially within the UC system, a majority of the resources that you'll find are prepaid by your tuition. So it's very important that you're utilizing as much as you can. And that's especially true with CLAS at our university. And there are, again, one of the programs that we very much tell students all about from the beginning during their orientation programs, from where they are, what kind of resources they offer, how to talk to them, how to reach out to them, how to sign up for the classes, everything. So they are pretty much working within, we're very lucky in the sense that we have an amazing student resource building that encompasses a lot of our resources. So it's very easy to find resources such as EOP and CLAS on our campus because they're all housed there. And during orientation, we make that very well known to students on how to utilize those resources and how to sign up for them.
Great. And one last question, unless you have any ending thoughts, but this is a question that, I don't think we would have ever asked except in the year 2020. A student says, hey, will I be able to attend the university online in the future full time if I don't live close by? If I live in El Centro, can I still live here and get a 4-year degree in Santa Barbara? What's the future look like?
Aside from, our current situation, currently we do have a majority of our classes online, of course, because, we live in a COVID world right now where we need to follow local and CDC guidelines. And right now our classes are online. However, typically students are required to take their courses online. We're not an online school for that reason. So it is a little bit far, some space away, some distance away from, where all of you are at. But I can promise you that I was much like you in that situation. I am not from Santa Barbara by any means. I am from the Bay Area, about 4.5 hours away. And, there is a lot of ways transportation wise to stay nearby. But I can also tell you that when it comes to our community, it's a very welcoming community. It's a very open community and a very family oriented community in the sense that we make sure our students feel like family on our campus. I can tell you, I myself, being a first generation student, having no experience at UC Santa Barbara, the first week did feel a little out of place, but the magic of our campus and the community that we've created made that pretty much disappear within that first week. It made me feel very much a part of the university campus. So I encourage you, though you might live far away, and we have students coming from all over the world as well, do consider UCSB as an option. It is a place where you will eventually grow to call home because it is essentially what happened to me. I, again, originally from 4.5 hours away, and I can definitely tell you Santa Barbara is now my home because of the university and what it's provided me. So definitely consider us, even if you can't take us online.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Guillermo. We can't tell you how much we appreciate all the information and support that you provide to our students here in the Imperial Valley. I know you'll get some great applicants. We have great students here. So we'll look forward to learning how many of our students end up attending UCSB.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, and have a great evening. Thanks for joining us.